Where my girls at? Where my girls at? Independent, free spirit. Ooh, it's so serious. Where my girls at? We ain't linked up in a cool minute. Where my girls at? It's going down, down. Where my girls at? It's going down, down. It's going down tonight. We going out tonight. Yeah, right. We going out tonight. It's going down tonight. Yeah, right. It's going down tonight. We going out tonight. Yeah, right. We going out tonight. It's going down tonight. Yeah, right.
Hey, 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 hey. Happy Monday, happy Monday. It is going down, but it's all the way up, okay? We are so excited that you are here on Monday. You could be doing a lot of things. Some of you probably are doing a lot of things at the same time, multitasking while you're listening to your favorite radio show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern time. For those of us that are on the West Coast, sun is still shining. It's still warm, 3 to 4 over here. Yeah. We are so grateful that you are tuned in to We Got Issues with the Force of Friendship. Katrina, Sabrina, Gloria, and Chrisette, the girlfriends, are all in action today on camera here. For those of you that are watching us on social and on air, we have your host, Katrina Harris Earl, coming to you from Brentwood, California, and Sabrina Goodwin Monday, who is coming to you from Baltimore. New to Baltimore. We are so glad you are here. We got a lot going on. If you are on the radio, if you're watching me on social, I just realized my background, y'all, everything happens today. Everything happens today. You know how the people come in, Sabrina, and they clean your carpet. My husband rearranged everything. So I ain't no telling what it's looking like up in here. But I am so grateful that we are live today. It is Motivating Monday. So let me pass it to my girlfriend who brings Monday and everything she does. Sabrina Goodwin Monday. How you doing, girl?
I'm great, great, great. Happy to see everybody. Thankful for our listeners, our viewing audience. It's Monday. Every day is Monday, our most favorite day of the week. Oh my goodness. You know, it's a great day. It's been gray. I guess this is still from the hurricane. I don't know. It's been gray and rainy and cold the entire weekend. For the first day, I put a coat on. I went out to walk Rio and I was like, oh no, I got to go back in the house and get me a coat and a scarf. Okay. I mean, it switched up on me just like that. And so for the first day, turned on the heat. Kenny's like, what you turn on the heat for? But I was cold. So I had to knock off that chill. But you know, it's fall, y'all. New season, new attitude, new change of everything. For us, it's a new locale. Hi, Alicia Maxie Green, my beautiful girlfriend from New Jersey. And so we're just grateful. It is an attitude of gratitude today. You know, we can complain about some things, but I think about other people and their situation, and I'm just grateful. So, so grateful. You look at your face, Katrina.
Thank you. It is a great day. And Sabrina, just thinking about all the pictures that we see from Hurricane Ian, I mean, the devastation, the disarray, it's just, you're right. Yeah. We really do so much to be grateful for. We have even Christian Lynn, who is in Florence, South Carolina. Christian Lynn, let us know if Hurricane Ian came through there, but just so many prayers and thoughts. We have friends that were right in that path. And so, Sabrina, did it go through where you used to live?
Yeah, it did. So many of my people there lost power in the Raleigh-Durham area. I have a really good girlfriend, a line sister from Tennessee State. She lives in Fort Myers. And she said, Sabrina, I've lived here all my life. I've never seen devastation like this. Please pray. Please ask people to donate to Red Cross, send money. I mean, she said to have entire communities just wiped out. She went to stay with a girlfriend, and she said she came back and she didn't know what to expect. But she said, considering Her house is okay. There's a big tree that came through her house, so there's a lot of roof damage. But she said, at least my frame is still up. At least the frame is still
Mm,
up. But she said, you know, they get these hurricane threats. She grew up with them, and I mean, you guys, it's the most devastating storm in Florida's history. Yeah, the
mm.
most devastating. And so she said, she just, because when I called her, she's like, well, I don't know if I'll leave. I'm like, Chris, Fort Myers, the eye is right there. I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
You need to go somewhere. But Floridians, they're so used to getting those warnings that some say we'll be all right.
I mean, I was watching one man who said if it wasn't for his sofa that floated, he said his sofa was above the ceiling fan. He had like that much room between the ceiling and his sofa to breathe, and he was there for 2.5 hours. It's like
Unbelievable.
there ain't nothing we own that is that important, because what you gonna do,
No,
what are you gonna do to protect it? And we see people that have to take a boat just to go to check out their home. So really, we take nothing for granted. And we just got through, I was just heavily involved in water donations for Jackson, who still has unclean water. I mean, I
right.
understand there's a class action lawsuit that's taken place, and now we've got this happening, and it's a lot. And we can't even forget about Puerto Rico and the other islands that were affected. It is a lot. So we are so grateful for life and health, and we know
For
all those
sure.
be replaced. But we hope that the insurance companies do folks right. Really, you pay insurance, and then they just were talking about all the hoops that people have to go through. So it's a wow. Well, any
That
other?
and all the
Uh-huh.
scammers. Just think about all the
Oh my
scammers who
gosh.
converge upon devastated areas, and just. I mean, how could you go to bed at night with a good? How do you
Mhm.
sleep when you're going to pray on those who are going through so much? But they are out there and
Mhm.
they're saying, "Beware." Yeah, beware.
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. I just had grabbed some news. We work really hard to keep this radio show apolitical, but I'm telling you, sometimes you just have to go there. And it just popped up on my news break app that Sabrina has us all watching, about the fact that the National Archives had contacted um, the Trump's attorney, saying that some of the letters that were missing were from Kim Jong Un. And it's just interesting as we watch this, because to me, I know that everybody says that's political, but y'all, this has to do with this threat and talk of everything that's taken place, and the N word being used, which meaning as in nuclear, not the other N word. I mean, that's just some interesting stuff. I really hope they get to the bottom, and that everything is done to protect those that could be affected by those missing documents. So that's a mess, for real, for
It
real.
is it is a mess. And did you hear that New York, New Jersey, you guys key in, let us know if that this really happened, that they got a PSA announcement about nuclear a warning in in New Jersey, New York. I mean, the world
Mm-hmm,
we're living in right now, it seems unreal, but it's very real. And
mm-hmm,
we're just watching this because, Putin and then Biden talked pretty tough last
mm-hmm.
week with a direct response to Putin.
Yep. Mm-hmm,
It's scary, really. It's very scary.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, he was very
Thank
direct
you.
as I was listening to the president's response, and someone else we normally are on top of this news, and I even heard that Ukraine was accelerating their application to NATO. So someone can talk about that, because if that happens and they are accepted, then it's on and popping in a whole new way. So, you guys, as always, we choose joy. We choose happy. We've got a lot to be in prayer for, but always a lot to be grateful for. So, I'm excited today because this show is important. But I also promise you that it's going to make you laugh, because just naturally, I'm bringing on my sorority sister, who is brilliant. She is an academic, but she is so funny. I just love her energy and just love her. We are sorority sisters in Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Of course, I should have had on my pink because Sabrina is repping in her green. Okay, I can't believe I didn't wear pink and green today. Okay, so
I have on Delta Red. You got an AKA black. It's okay.
all right, hater. I am bringing in my sorority sister, Sonja Bell. Give her a round of applause and welcome her to We Got Issues. So grateful. She is hailing from the city of San Francisco with heavy advancement has always been paramount. She is a low bachelor's degree, has a bachelor's degree in economics from we share that. I don't know if you realize that my degree is in economics too, from the University of San Francisco, master's degree in educational leadership from Cal State Sacramento, and to the illustrious, you know what, the way I printed this out, can you believe this? It cut off some, so I want you to make sure and fill in your affiliation with Tuskegee University, because Sabrina, being from HBCU, wants to know that as well. And I'm so excited that today we're going to be talking to her from her vice principal standpoint and what it is like for schools post-COVID, the public school education, the realness of what it's like for those in academia, for teachers, for parents, and for students. And so we just want to welcome you to We Got Issues. We want to give you a big round of applause. Giovanni, if we have some applause in the background, we'd love to give her a round of applause. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
I'll take it. I will take it.
On a Monday, right? On a Monday.
Thank you so much. So, yes. That's wonderful. Thank you, ladies.
Talk to us about who you are, how super bad you are, and then we're going to dive into the topic. We have about 4 minutes before our first break, so this is all about let's get to know Sonja Bell.
Well, first, just let me thank you, ladies, for having me on. There's not very many opportunities for us to, for you to talk about yourself, and that's hard. It's hard to brag. I appreciate this platform. So I am a native San Franciscan. I'm a hippie from the hate, peace, and love. There's not very many of us. And I've been in education for almost 30 years. It's hard to say that. Because you have to, subtract that. Was I just starting my career when I was born? Or do I really just own the almost 30 years? But I have had
We've been friends for 30 years, so we talk about that all the time. So, it's like,
yes.
I like that.
Those numbers accrue. But I've been, I've taught in San Francisco. I've been a leader in the Greater Bay Area, and I cannot tell you how many children I've had the opportunity and the pleasure to lead. And I'm still in the game. The game has changed profusely, intensely. It is not the same, but I'm hanging on for dear life and trying to do what's best for these youngins, as folks keep sending them to me.
Wow. Well, tell us about just a little bit about because again, for some reason, this doesn't happen to me, but when it printed off, I got it cut off.
Sure.
So please share with us your affiliation with Tuskegee University, because that part I did not get.
Sure. So most of my formal education has been in California. My parents are both from Alabama, and my mother attended Tuskegee. And so we just grew up hearing about this illustrious Black university from her perspective. And she graduated like in the early 50s. So I just knew very early on that, my sister, I have one sister, and we just knew that we were going to be college bound. And so I had an opportunity to go right after college, after I graduated, in between graduating from college and pursuing education. Initially, I wanted to be a doctor, and I struggled with chemistry. Those malonic esters were not my friend. And so I think my parents got in a huddle and were like, look at here, you're gonna have to wrap this up. And we think that this is the route for you to go. So my introduction into education was begrudgingly. Like, I was like, I have no desire whatsoever to teach. And they were like, but this is what we decided for you to do. So I took the test.
There. We're going to our first break, and then we want you to finish that thought. And when we come back, we are really going to dig deep anybody who's listening in, give us a call, 313-778-7600. Do you have a student in public school? Are you a teacher in public school? Are you a principal in public school? We're going to talk about it all. But when we come back, we're going to start off having that cultural conversation we were having yesterday that had me going. So we'll be right back. Thanks for tuning in to We Got Issues. All right, we are back. Thanks for tuning in to We Got Issues. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We are so excited today to have my sorority sister, Sonja Bell, with us. And she is a secondary vice principal at a secondary school. And I love what you said here. You said it has and continues to be an honor to be a participant in the academic history of the students and families I encounter. Leading them towards academic success and global citizenship is my daily focus, in addition to finding innovative ways to foster engagement. We're going to talk a lot about that. I believe in the success of all of the students I encounter academically and emotionally with a village mentality. So I just love that. We talk a lot about HBCUs and the role that they play. And I see here that kind of what you were, your experience with Tuskegee. And so just finish that thought, and then I'm going to jump right into the conversation about the current situation in school.
So I went to Tuskegee for about 3 semesters. The goal was to take science requirements for medical school. At least that's what I thought I was doing when I was going. But what I actually came away with was just probably the most wonderful educational experience I could have. I just realized that I was in the midst of greatness. It was something about having your professors be the same people who've written your books, who could give you firsthand knowledge, and that there's just such a variety of students there, all on the track for greatness. Because in HBCUs and in those Black colleges, they give you 4 years. Like, you are going to get it done in 4, not 4.5, no 7-year plan. In 4 years, you're finished. And so people are kind of looking at me strange because I had already graduated, and I would walk into classes and they'd be like, "You're not supposed to sit down and get the instructor. You're supposed to get up there and teach." And I was like, "No, I'm here for class." But there was nobody older than 21. Like, those folks were finished. So they were like, "Who's this old chick sitting next to us?" So I learned just everything. I learned that you could rent a car from U-Haul for $19 a day, as opposed to going to the rent a car place if your car broke down. I learned how to cook. I know how to fry chicken. I learned how to take care of myself. And I learned that we are resilient and dynamic, and we are magical people. And we can absolutely do anything we put our minds to. So that, partnered with this educational journey that I was on, that I was forced into, it just gave me all the tools that I needed, and it just made me understand that as an educator, you can teach anybody, and students can achieve things.
I love that. I love that. So I want to ask you this question, and then I'll have Sabrina jump in. But yesterday we were having a conversation in preparation for the show, and I know you're going to give us kind of just everything of the landscape of what it's like in the schools post-COVID. But you were talking about, prior to the kids showing up at school, or just the difference between how we grew up and how kids are growing up today, and the cultural aspects, speaking specifically to how you serve African-American kids and how the parent is involved or not involved, and what you're dealing with on a regular basis. So you were talking about the difference, some of the rites of passage that we had to go through that don't exist anymore today. And so just, give us a peek into that conversation and what your thoughts are.
Sure. Well, first, this is no indictment. I want everyone to be clear on what I'm saying, because we are in a shift. Like, we're no longer, I don't even think we're in the technological phase. What is this? Artificial intelligence. Like, everything moves very quickly now. And I think our parents just had a lot of time to spend with us and direct us and raise us. And there was a lot of rules and expectations. There were protocols. There was, we talked about rites of passage, but you always knew in your house, like, there were levels to things, as folks would say. When you get to be this age, you can do this. When you do this, you do this. And now it's like everybody has access to everything. There's nothing left behind the curtain. There's nothing until you get there. It is all accessible to everyone, including our youngsters. And I think that's the piece that we have overlooked, is that children have access to everything. So they could have access to everything, and you have been able to get in front of it and teach them how to receive it. Or they could have access to everything in your absence, and there lies the problem. So we were really teetering on things, with technology being so plentiful prior to the pandemic. And then we escorted everybody off campus and gave them a laptop and did not see them for 18 consecutive months. So these children, who are exceptionally bright, that part hasn't changed, learned how to be self-sufficient in a manner that is counter to what we expected once they came back. Like, this is like Lord of the Flies, 21st century style. So and we gave them technology. So even the children maybe that were like, I don't know how to access it, we gave them a computer. So, and then you think about in people's homes as parents, some parents were fortunate enough to be at home with their children where they could monitor, but that's a whole other conversation, because if you're not looking at the computer, are you really monitoring? You don't know what they're doing when you're sitting on the other side. They're like, yes, I'm in class, and they've invested in the stock market. They're looking at that or whatever else, or they're with some of their friends. Everybody had a way to toggle back and forth in those screens, and parents would be thinking your children are in school, and they were not. Some parents had to work nights. Some parents had to work out of the house. Sometimes big brother, sister is raising, and then you still don't know what's happening. What is big brother and sister exposing first and second graders to? Some children were in terrible situations. We saw that firsthand. You got a chance to take a glimpse into someone's house and you're like, what is that in the, who is that? Like, who's with that baby? I was in one class and the child was sitting outside taking classes, and the teacher's teaching, and we look, and this baby has literally jumped into the swimming pool and is swimming while class is going on. Or, parents that would just come in and not realize the camera was on, and we would have to be like, ma'am, sir, it's a whole lot of stuff. You need a robe, you need a gown, you need some undergarments. How about that? So there's just a lot of exposure. And so now that we're all back,
Literally.
the children, we're all different. The children came back differently. They came back with masks on. We're trying to identify your children by their eyebrows, and it's interesting. Like, they came back, like, we have on masks. So in their mind, they're like, we're invisible. So you're talking to babies and they're walking right by, like, I don't know you, you don't know me, you don't even see me. Baby, I see you because you got on a mask. I see you and I'm still talking to you. But they're like, I don't know you. So what would be our relationship? So we're having to tap them on the shoulder and turn them around like, we're in here together. But they're self-governing. So they've got money because they monetized everything. They, just like you set up a web page and put your product on for sale, they're doing the same thing. They have phones, they can get Ubers, they can, the DoorDash game is a mess. Like, we'll say, you cannot DoorDash to school, so they'll DoorDash from the rear part of the school, and folks will bring them food. So it's like we're dealing with little adults. And in our own families, like, some of those things, like you and I were talking about, like, there's no more big mama. There's not that elder that's going to come and help you support a child, because, none of us are getting old. We're just not. We're not allowing that to happen. We're holding on for dear life. So the kids have not even seen anybody elderly, really. So all of those norms where someone could kind of look at you and you knew to kind of fall back, or, that a parent is coming, so there's an expectation that I might have to reckon with what I've done, all that's gone. And it's incumbent upon the school to take on that responsibility, and we are not related to each other. So all day long, as the adults in the building, you are negotiating where you should be able to direct. So you're like,
that's interesting. Like, negotiating instead of directing.
Yes.
That's like a great summary of it, is negotiating. Talk about what that's like actually in the classroom, that negotiation. Because my vision is, I'm a teacher, I show up to teach you the ABCs, but now I have to literally become a negotiator. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
So, the three of us ladies are adults. And if I say, I need for you to go over there and have a seat, as an adult, you might actually walk over and have a seat. But maybe if you don't feel compelled to have a seat, you're like, I don't have an affinity for that. Mm-hmm. So then what's my next move as a teacher? If you've got a child construct with children who don't perceive themselves that way, then you're always in struggle. So it used to be that you could come in and get to the business of hand right away, where now we have to set the scene for that. We're doing a lot of work now with, social emotional intelligence, or social emotional learning. Like, we give students an opportunity to come in and decompress before we actually get to work. And you and I all know that when we were younger, there was no decompression. Like, you decompress for what you need to. You got a problem. If you had a problem, you were gonna work that out yourself. But there was no circle or way for you to have feelings, because we didn't have feelings. We need to get our narrow hips in that seat and be prepared to receive whatever it is. Now you're like, does everybody have an affinity for us to start now? You're really trying to get buy-in, as opposed to just being able to start off with your craft. So what can be problematic?
We're going to another break, and I'm going to come back and toss it to you, Sabrina, to start on the second half of conversation. Sabrina has raised three amazing kids who are all adults. You can brag on your own kids when you come back, but Princeton educated, Howard educated, and we are just doing the best we can in the public school to bring give these kids the best educational experience, but it goes so far beyond that. What I'm learning from talking to you is you're really helping to grow them up so that they can be productive citizens in the world, which has always happened, but it's even different now post-COVID. So we'll talk more about it when we come back. Give us a call if you want to join in on the conversation or tell us your experience, 313-778-7600. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. We are back. And I'm looking forward to us getting to talking about some solutions. But from my standpoint, and I know from Sabrina's standpoint, it is really good for us to know the real deal about what's going down in the schools, because lots of times the kids don't come home and tell you everything
Tell
that
you
happened. But I'm gonna
anything, right?
yeah. So I'm gonna pass it to you, Sabrina, because you have successfully. I mean, I know, were a very involved parent, both you and Kenny, and that is part of the result of raising amazing children that are now grown adults doing big things. And so just share a little bit about your experience, and then I know you have a question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Katrina, for bringing us this topic. Sonja, thank you, thank you, thank you. Educators are unsung heroes, and so we thank you for your time. Educators, we got to get you guys paid better. You spend more time with these babies than many parents do, and it's just something. I mean, I think back to when I was raising my children, and Kenny and I were very involved. I wanted to be that PTA mom. I wanted to go on the field trips. I wanted, if there was a problem, teacher, call me, call me, call me. And when I heard this stat the other day, the pandemic erased 2 decades of progress in math and reading. My heart just sank. I knew that we were losing ground, but had no
Yes,
idea we lost that much ground. And
yes.
I was thinking about parents of third and fourth graders, 9-year-olds. That would have shaken me to my core if I had one of these children. And I have a couple of friends, and they kept their kids in private schools during the pandemic so that they could go to school, because those schools, many of those schools did not shut down. Through the height of COVID, they were still going to school. And my eyebrow was raised at that, like, really? But I mean, now you look back and you think, wow, for those who could, because of course there's always the great debate, public or private. But my question to you, Sonja, is with these stats, I mean, it's disheartening. It says national test results released on Thursday showed in stark terms the pandemic's devastating effects on American school children, with the performance of 9-year-olds in math and reading dropping to levels lower than levels from 2 decades ago. Talk to us about, how do we gain ground? How concerned should the parents of 9-year-olds be? And what can we do as a community, parents, relatives, to get these kids where they need to be?
Well, to be quite frank, we were in trouble prior to the pandemic. I mean, we were looking at typically on a normal school year or just normal functioning, is that you do have students that may be a grade or maybe two below. But we walked into the pandemic with two, maybe more prior to that. And I think what happened is that because we've had the pandemic, it has highlighted some of the things that we in education have known to be true. But we were suddenly in the spotlight because everybody was at home. And what I think about overall is that everybody being at home, if you were able, you were paying attention. Like the pivot happened on both sides. Like as educators, we had to be more cognizant of how we are delivering messages. And then in the household, families got a chance to see. So it was very interesting. There was all these sort of like comedic videos that you saw on Instagram and different things where it was like teachers were reintroducing children to their parents. Like, this is what we've been trying to tell you. Now you see it in your own home, or parents saying, Lord, could you please open back up and take all these children because I can't do it all by myself. But this goes back to what we were saying before about how we're interacting with our children. And I think what people forget is that, when you send your baby to school, we have them for about 6 hours. The other 18 is with their families. And then you have the other, 48 hours for the weekend. And education has always been a partnership. Like when we talk about village, when I first started teaching, with the more veteran teachers, they would say, I educate the mind and you take care of the behind, which is hilarious. But it had to do with you were sending folks to school that were ready and prepared, and they knew what was happening when they got to school.
Right.
Now what's happening is that they come in, and instead of you getting, as I said before, getting right to the business of educating students, we're dealing with all that stuff that maybe could have been that should be happening prior to get to school. And we've made tremendous changes to how we are supporting students. We've brought in all kinds of consultancies and counselors and therapists, but nothing replaces what happens at your house. So, for example, your parents taught you, or whoever was in, I'm not going to just say parents, because people are raised by all kinds of folks in their family who loves you. Whoever's in that house that loves you on a daily basis has probably, I know when we were growing up, someone would tell you to go get something or go do something, go bring me that. Or they would teach you, they'd give you directions, go upstairs, get me the newspaper and bring it downstairs. Or look at me when I'm talking to you. Or when don't scream my name from away. Come over here and let me talk to you directly. Or if you're getting angry, what are you getting angry about? Like all of these just conversations that you have, a lot of our children do not get this interaction at all. So babies are in their phones. We're on our phones. Parents are, whoever's around is on their phones. The children have tablets, and we're doing it even earlier with babies. So there's not this verbal exchange, but school is still we're still in an agricultural business model where we're sitting and we're expecting you to look at us and interact. These children are like, why are you bothering me? What did you want? When you called my name, what did you want from me? Because I don't usually even have that interaction. So in terms of what we lost, some of that, if you have folks who have younger children, of course they can make that up. It's disheartening, but all is not lost. There's still always time, but we have to be vigilant and consistent. And as a family, there has to be some goal setting. Like, what is the goal for this baby that is in your possession? What do you aspire for this baby to do? And that is the starting point for all these other things that line up. Because we just get babies who don't know, we're still trying to inform them as to why we have this relationship. And the further we get away from that apple, which I keep saying, is that the children really are coming for the Wi-Fi, they're coming for the food, and it's a social hangout. And it's not what we have them to come for. And this is a wonderful opportunity to discuss this because we see it on a daily basis. A lot of our students,
it sounds so much about the teaching them the respect for authority, and yet we've had, with George Floyd and so many other things, we've lost respect for authority in some cases, and so that's what I'm hearing you talk about, is that there's not any respect that the teacher is here and I'm here.
There is, of course, there is this respect thing, but it's just the relationship. I joke with the children, like when they come in, because I'll say, well, what did you come in here for? And they'll say, it's like, now I'm getting on their last nerve. Like, why is she asking us this? Isn't this school? Doesn't she know where she is? I'm like, I do, but I want to know, do you know where you are? And they'll say, well, I came here to learn. I'm like, well, what does that look like? Because you're doing a whole bunch of stuff. You're learning some stuff, but it's not necessarily what you're learning is not on the agenda for the day. When I walk in the classrooms, I don't see what you're doing. And so I'll ask them things like, well, how many of you get your nails done? Everybody. So I'm like, okay, so when you go to the nail salon, do you just plop down in a chair? Like, what's the protocol when you go in there? Are you doing cartwheels? Are you fighting? Like, they're like, no, we go in there and we pick our color and we sit down. I said, you sit. Okay, so you sit which way? Well, we sit facing the nail tech. Okay, we stick our nails out. And I said, do you move around? Or if the nail person says, can you hold still? Do they get cussed out? Like, what happens with the nail tech? And so they're like, I'm like, you understand that there's a protocol. You don't go to the nail salon thinking that you're going to buy a lawnmower. You go in there and get your nails done. So you follow all the directions. Those people probably don't have to talk to you crazy. They don't have to ask you to get out. But you come to school, and you come here every day, and every day it's like, hi, can I introduce myself to you? This is school. We would like to get some work done. But you start off like you have no clue.
Can you talk right before we go to the break about the parent involvement? Because clearly what I'm hearing you say is that has to be fixed at home. So there has to be this partnership. And certainly we know We're not making a blanket statement. We know that there are many teachers that are creating an
Absolutely.
environment. We know many students want to learn, and we know there are many, but these students can spoil it even for those that want to learn, right? Because your attention has to go to the person who's making all the noise. So can you talk about the parent? Actually, we're going to go to a break in just a moment, and
Sure.
I don't want to cut you off in the middle of that. So we're going to talk about that parent. Devella says, yes, Sonja, I'm always sharing with my parents that parents are our children's first teachers, and it's a team effort that
Yes.
we have to put together. These children are our future, and if there was
Yes.
ever a need, the need is now for us to come together and work in unity for emotional, social,
Yes.
cognitive development for our children. And I am seeing more
Yes.
than ever that in some cases, if the parent doesn't have that capacity to do it, everybody, you might even be the friend of the family who can step in and help to bring some structure, and some the structure that they need. So we will be right back. Hang tight to Lady Grace. We're going to work to get you on the line. We'll be right back.
Hmm.
All right, we are back. We are back, and you are listening and tuning in to We Got Issues. We are talking to Sonja Bell, who is a secondary school vice principal, and we're talking about the situation, the circumstance, and how we can make a shift for the positive for all public school students so that they can get a great quality education. I am a product of public school. Sabrina, did you go to public school growing
Public,
academic?
public,
Public, all
public,
public school, I
all
believe.
public. Yeah.
So, so we're going to go to Lady Grace, who is a caller. I think we still have her. Giovanni, is she there? Lady Grace, are you there?
I am here. I truly thank you, ladies. Now I'm going to make it brief because of the time frame. I do want to echo some of the things that you said. I do agree with you. I do want to put the other side of the coin also, too, and bring that to light. We were in trouble with our students prior to the pandemic. Let's make that very, very clear. And the parents went on the button about it. Something is wrong with that particular parent. We were in trouble when a governor, Snyder, literally lowered the credit hours that a teacher has to be in front of the student when the student was almost as smart as that individual get out of school. That was a problem for me because that happened during my son's high school period when he was correcting the teacher. That was an issue. So let's say, too, all the teachers are not walking around with a gold star on their forehead. Some of them need to be purged, but it changed for them, too. So I came up with a particular program about debriefing your child to all the parents. This is what we need to do. We need to debrief our child when he or she comes home and make sure they're getting all they need to get. And if they're not getting it, you need to address that with administration. It's a difference. It is really, really a difference. And it has been going on at least 8 years. And I can actually recall when I had to get into the trenches and really, really dig deep and work at it. I didn't allow my child to be left behind, or even to speak in front of him or in the back of him. We needed to do better, and the parents, the voice is absolutely gold. If the parents have an alliance, they could actually change a lot of it. But there's some parents that are not using their voice. Yes, it's sad. Wow.
An opportunity to respond to that because what you said is a mouthful. I mean, it's so good. You always add value when you call in, and so I want to hear what
has to say about the parents' role and just that whole involvement. Literally, we know that parents' involvement makes a difference, as well as teachers that maybe are misplaced in the profession. But we're in the midst of a teacher shortage. So, Sonja, can you talk all about it? Thanks, Dorothy, for helping out with that. Thank you to Lady Grace for calling in.
Absolutely. And that's why it's important for us to not make blanket statements because, as your caller just outlined, it's incumbent upon the parents to really be on top of what's happening in those classrooms. It is definitely a partnership. And what we're seeing is that that partnership is not always intact. That we have students that really need the support from home to come and be their best selves so that when they're at school, they can get the most out of it. But by all means, that parents are informed about what's happening at school. And that if there is a particular issue or you see some deficit or that you don't feel that your child is getting what they need, is you have the right. This is your most precious possession. You have the right. We expect you. You should be able to contact anyone at school for them to unpack that. They should be able to let you know their expectations. You should have access to the standards. What standards per state is my child expected to master? What does that look like in terms of your instructional practices? Is your instruction rigorous? Is it engaging? Is it dynamic? Is it are there multi-modalities? Do you know how my child learns? Are the lessons that you're preparing adequate for that particular style? And
can a parent come sit in the classroom? Can a parent come sit in the classroom, or is that only at the really kindergarten age? Okay.
Yes. So a parent can come up there to fight. A parent can't come up there to accost. A parent can come up there to start some mess, but you can absolutely come and see about your baby. We encourage it. And then it makes those conversations more robust and informed. And it helps us with the students. And what we see a lot of times is that parents do come to the school. Parents do all of those things that our caller just mentioned. I think that oftentimes people believe that as our children get older, that they are more responsible and you can kind of take your foot off the gas. But what we're seeing is that it's the polar opposite, that we pay a lot of attention to the younger grades and feel like as they get older and more mature, that's when you almost have to quit your job and follow Johnny where he's going and Sally and Susie, because that's when they get into all the trouble. Like, when my baby was little, we bubble wrapped everything. If you came to my house and stood still, we were going to wrap you up in something. We did not want her to fall we took every precautionary measure, just short of chewing her food before we gave to her. But as she got older, it's like, this is really the time, because they're exposed to everything. There's everything out there for students. There's, as I said earlier, there's no restrictions. When you don't, as I said before, when you don't hear anything in your house, that's probably when something's going wrong. You need to be able to hear and talk to your children. Like when we were younger, parents knew what you were doing all the time, because you were working, you were doing the dishes and vacuuming and cleaning, and you had to do your homework where people could see. There was no, you couldn't close your door. Sometimes you didn't have a door. You didn't have any privacy. There was nothing that somebody didn't know. They would hear you. The phones were all connected. You had to wait till somebody was snoring before you could pick up the phone and try and sneak a call. None of that happens now. And so we consider our children very responsible, which they are, but responsible with what? Like, what is going on? And as a parent, you have to know all those things. So I appreciate your caller. She's absolutely right. We do have some folks, just like any other industry, that, maybe time for them to exit. They may not be in front of children doing the best that they could possibly do. But you would know that with your interaction with the school and with the administration and teachers, as much as you are participating yourself.
Mm-hmm. That is so good, what you said about the older you get. So just talk just the last 3 minutes that we have about the teacher shortage, and about teachers, just how we can love on the teachers, the ones that, because we want to retain really great teachers. And I know the environment, Sabrina was talking about the statistics of teachers that are leaving and just not feeling appreciated, as well as the income. So how can we help to retain really great teachers?
I think the first thing is to expect best intentions, for you as a parent to really know your child, and to be patient and listen. If a teacher has contacted you and said, Sonji is doing A, B, and C, you don't necessarily have to be on the defensive. You really want to listen. Unpack that for me. What does that look like in your class? What is your expectation? What is she doing exactly? And have conversations with your child. You should know what's happening in school. When they come home, what'd you do today? What did the teacher teach today? What subject? And you don't have to be an academic to know. What did the teacher do? You could ask, what did the teacher have on? Was the teacher there? All those things are necessary questions. And expect that the teacher can call you for positive or negative things. But have an open mind to listen and hear. And make sure that you are you are sending your child prepared for whatever that teacher has in store.
Mm-hmm. Wow, the music! I told you it went by so fast. I mean, we've talked about this for hours and hours, and so I know we'll want to have you back. Just thank you so much for what you're doing. We can't thank you enough. I know at the vice principal level, it is really a big deal. You're making a difference for so many, and we pray for you as you continue to step in there.
Thank you. I accept all prayers. Pray for me. Call my name out. Yes. All of that.
all that. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to We Got Issues with Katrina, Sabrina, Chrisette, and Gloria. And I believe tomorrow will be another great show, and all four girlfriends will be here. We appreciate you, Sonja, for being on the show, and thank you for blessing us with all that you had to share today. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a great Monday. Bye-bye.